Okay, we've got a new unboxing video from Diamond. That's my last box. This has, I do believe, my Frazetta tribute death dealer statue in this box. It's a $270 statue. Paying tribute to the great Frank Frazetta. Frank is one of the greatest artists to have ever walked this planet and to ever bestowed his artwork onto us. Not quite as much paper as normally, which is kind of funny. You think for a $270 statue, it'd be packed a little bit more secure with paper or some other packing materials. So we do have this. Get this thing out of the box. I had the great honor of meeting Frank one time at the San Diego Comic Con back in 1995. That he was being inducted into the Hall of Fame there. Glenn Danzig took arrangements to get Frank to the show, and he wasn't officially at the show, but he was at the show. Everybody knew he was at the show. That was the rumors. It's like, man, have you seen Frank? Have you seen Frank? Frank's here, you know. And at one point, I'm walking around the show, and I see Glenn's bodyguard, and I see this guy. I see Frank. I see him coming up. They're walking towards me, and Frank's somebody that, you know, that... What can you say? What can you say to Frank Frazetta that he hasn't heard 1,000 times over from anyone else? So it's something that, as Frank approached me, I just put out my hand, and I'm like, Frank, and he gave me a nod with his head, with his eyebrows, took my hand, shook my hand, a very firm handshake, and that was it. I didn't have to say anything. There was nothing that needed to be said. And, you know, quite an honor. You know, hell of an honor to have met Frank. And it's something that, as old as Frank was at that time, I think he might have been in his 70s, that he had a very, very firm handshake. Enough to where if you get him pissed off, I would not have wanted anything to do with this old man that was, more than, I was, more than twice my age. And I've had a very good friend of mine back here in Toledo. His name is James Bond. Very good friend. And I called back to see how the shop was doing, and I told the employee, I think it was Mr. Ken Murray, if I remember correctly, way back in the 90s there, and I just told him that tell Bond I met him, I met the man. And I think Jim was there at the time, and Jim's response was, fuck you, because Jim was a very, 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 even more so than me, fan of Frank, admired him as his hero. But Jim had the honor of meeting Frank many, many, many years later. He was putting together a definitive reference checklist book on Frank Frazetta. And I was doing some research out there, trying to get as much information as possible to help my friend. And then many years later, this came out, the definitive reference. See, James Bond, 007. This came out through Vanguard Press. These are probably out of print now. It's got picture in here That one's copy is signed by James. Introduction by Dr. Dave. Got a picture. There's the afterward. There is Mr. Bond with the master himself, Frank. That was at the opening of the museum. This was, again, many, many years ago. And I did get a shout out in the credits there. Thank you, Mr. 007. But very, very amazing reference book. There's, I'm sure, reviews online. There's people critical of it. But you know what? These people are critical of it. Hey, get your ass off and do a better job. Get your ass up and do a better job than that. Jim worked many, many long years putting that thing together. This version right here, this was probably easily the 20th revision. As he'd go through that, he would go down to Kinko's, he would make copies up, and as he would just slowly work and put this labor of love. It was a labor of love is what that was. But this statue here, let's see, there's many pieces of this statue, so let's pull this piece out first. It appears to be the Death Dealer's cloak. Let's see how this thing looks. There you've got that. You know, certainly something not sculpted by Frank, obviously, but something, a labor of love for Frank. There's the Death Dealer's helmet. Looks like there's a magnet on the side, so it will click down. One of his arms. It's got the left hand black. Ready for some business. Here goes the right arm. Again, putting that arm out to shake Frank's hand. Frank, he just gives me that look, because he knows. He knows what I'm thinking. I didn't have to say, man, you're the greatest, man. Man, you're just, you know, you are it. There's the axe, some blood on it from some vanquished enemies. And then we've got the base itself. Got the image of Frank. I'm not sure if that's how his actual tombstone looks like, but passed away, gosh, almost 8 years ago now, or it has been 8 years ago. And this is number 66 of 400. 66 of 400 in memory of Frank Frazetta. Now this was sculpted by, does it tell? Death Dealer statue, tribute piece, significance. Frank is no longer with us. Frank Jr. Frazetta Jr. Enterprises. It is strange that it does not tell who sculpted this. It's disappointing. It's disappointing that credit is not given there. But let's assemble this. Okay, we'll put the head on first, as the Death Dealer is paying tribute to his creator. We'll put the arm on. Let me put this down so I can do this correctly. go. And there is the Frank Frazetta's Death Dealer paying tribute to his master. This is $270. Like I said, this is number 66 of 400. This is at JC's Comics and More, your pop culture superstore at 6725 West Central Avenue, that's Toledo, Ohio, 43617 419 531 6097. You can also find such other great... Oh, I forgot to put his cloak on. There we go. It is now complete. Like I said, you can find such other great shops as Video Game Underground and Video Game Connection in the same plaza with us. But you know, if you're interested in this, don't wait. They are very limited. And if you are a fan of the great Frank Frazetta and you like a great, just a wonderful reference book, seek this book out. We do have copies here, and hopefully you'll be able to find some other great copies elsewhere. Again, a great labor of love by Mr. James A. Bond. Don't ask him to give you any secrets, but if you happen to do meet Mr. Bond, be sure to hum the James Bond theme song. He absolutely loves that. Thank you.